Did we get? Hey, yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy, Manny, and I'm coming to you live from the Manny J Media headquarters here in Worcester, Massachusetts. And I am here with my good friend, Dr. Sherri Mclean. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Manny.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you're here today. Thank you for coming. As you know, and I would like to make sure that everybody out there knows, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Yes. And it's one of my favorite months for a number of reasons. My birthday just passed, so... They celebrated me. Thank you. They celebrated me a little bit just on Monday, and it was just such a great weekend. So there's that. But also, mental health as well as community are so near and dear to my heart. Everyone who knows what I do can see every day how community is dear to me. It's just a passion. I love being out there amongst the people like yourself and just talking and learning and sharing that information. But also, I've been a survivor of my own mental health circumstances. And so I like to just talk about that and show people, because I feel like there is no better proof than seeing that you too can do it. You too can either change your ways and make your life more fruitful and more happy and more joyful. And just as well, you can help somebody else. Right. So thank you so much for coming here today and talking a little bit. I was playing with the handles. Well, you like, these handles are so high. And I was like, mine go high too. But thank you for being here and lending some of your expertise to some of the topics. It was funny because before the show, we were talking about rabbit holes. Yeah. And I'm one of those types. I love to go down rabbit holes. And they're so easy to get lost in and so difficult to get out of. So without falling down any rabbit holes, we're going to try to do our best today. Yeah. Let's start with telling everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what mental health awareness means to you.
Sure. So thank you so much again, Manny, for having me. This is my second time.
I know. Welcome back. I forgot to say that part. Yeah, you did. If you didn't see last time you were here, it was just a couple weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago.
Maybe a month. I can't
remember. Was it already?
Yeah.
My goodness.
So we decided to set the date on that day to ensure that, I got back for mental health awareness. And I know how important it is for you, and just being able to share. So, my business, we focus on leadership development and coaching. We understand that there's a leadership development gap that individuals and organizations, they experience. And so that is where I come in, where we're able to close that gap, empower, staff and empower leaders to lead. I was sharing with someone earlier today that I believe, and like you, very, heavily involved in community and just the importance of community. I believe in just the vision of transforming communities one leader at a time. Yeah. And how we're able to do that is that as we're working with the individual, because of course, we're not going to be able to help everyone. Right. But then if we think about it that way, that, okay, if we help this group of people, then they can go and help someone else. And then that group can go and help someone else. So then there's that rippling effect of transformation. So that's just a little bit about what I do. I love it. I wake up every day. I am charged. I am ready to go to help with leadership development. In terms of mental health awareness, for me, what that means is that literally you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
You're taking care of yourself.
Being aware of where you are mentally.
Where you are.
Yeah.
We're literally taking care of yourself. And a lot of times, because of the different roles that we play or the different roles that we're involved in, we tend to lose ourselves and we tend to miss out on different things. And so our being is slowly being, we're deteriorating, and we're slowly fading away, and we're just fading away. And before we know it, we're just out there, we're isolated. Because that's was one of the things when it comes down to like mental, illnesses and things like that. You find yourself in a place where you're isolated.
Yeah. You know what I found when I found myself isolating. There's some sense of comfort in isolating. It's better to know this and build my little safe cocoon area than to go out there and deal whatever might be set up for me that I don't really want to deal with.
Yeah, because like you said, it's comfortable. We don't want people to know what we're going through.
Yeah.
We don't want people to start, formulating, ideas and just start using labels with us. Especially if you are a vibrant person and, they're used to seeing you out there and outgoing. And then, you start to struggle with some mental illness and they're like, oh, what's wrong with you? One of the things I would say is like, man up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that in itself is triggering, and so we just have to be mindful, right? Yeah. And having more conversations like these. And, I really appreciate you just creating a space, right, where we can have conversations like these and talk about it and encourage it, because we have to normalize mental health awareness, taking care of ourselves. Absolutely. Having these conversations, being open, being transparent, because it's going to have a rippling effect on the generations to come.
Right.
We want people to be okay talking about things, and that will empower other people, to go on that journey, get whatever help they need, the support that they need so they can heal.
Yeah. I think that's a great point you bring up, is empowerment, especially one of the other components, not just mental health, but the Black and Brown communities. Yeah. We really, I feel it's important to empower my brothers and sisters to know, accept, and embrace the idea that it's okay to talk about your feelings, because raising up, I don't know about you, but at my house, there wasn't too much talking about your feelings. It was like you just said, the whole man up. And not necessarily my mom, by the way. I love you, Mom. You're very supportive, and she really did a great job with making sure that we spoke about ourselves. But with the rest of my community, uncles, neighbors, friends, it was always that man up, put some bass in your voice. Like, what are you crying about? Like, there is no crying in baseball type thing. And then I also noticed, like, with my mom, to bring her back in the fold, it was almost like she couldn't cry. She was a single mom, not only raising 2 kids on a welfare check, but also helping to support her community. She couldn't look weak. Or at least she couldn't put herself in a position to come off as, weak in somebody else's perspective, or so she thought. Right. We're here today to talk about the fact that, yes, you can. And if you're not in a position of weakness or you may feel of poor mental health, then be mindful to encourage someone else to just talk, because sometimes that's the best medicine for a sick mind. Now, I don't want to say sick mind. That's why I was stumbling, but a mental illness. Sometimes it's just talking about it and getting that empathy and understanding and mindfulness from someone else to help you kind of climb out of that hole you got yourself in. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, and just to go back what you said about just how you were brought up and things like that. On my end, we had spaces where we could talk about how we felt, and if you were struggling with something. But then even just thinking about just how, I grew up in Jamaica, and there's a stigma when it comes on to getting help, right? I remember, and I shared this story a number of times, when I decided to study psychology at the University of the West Indies, a lot of people were like, what are you going to do with that? Yeah. Right? Because who nobody wants to talk to a psychologist.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to get help because then you're seen, you don't want to be seen as a madman, or these are some
Right.
terms that you'll be using, or you don't want to be seen as sick or things like that. And our brain and our mental capacity, it is so important.
And it's one of the
And
most overworked organs that we
like
have.
it's so
Overworked
much
muscles.
going on, Manny.
Yeah.
Like so much going on. And I feel like, and I'm not saying other parts of our body we shouldn't take care of it. Like, of course, we need to know what we're eating. We need to get sure we're getting sleep, really, all that jazz. But we have to really take time to focus on how we can be mentally fit. And so last week, on my little leadership talk, we talked about mental fitness when it comes on to in relation to mental health. And one of the first point that I brought up was just, how is it that you are building resilience? You brought up the point about just black and brown, and just some of the struggles that we go through, and the access that we have to certain resources that can help us, right? But again, how are we building our resilience, right? When I think about resilience, is the ability to bounce back. I like to use the analogy of the rubber band, right? You stretch the rubber band, no matter how far you stretch it, it comes right back. What is it that's within the rubber band that is going to help us to come back? And that is where we need to understand that seeking help is not a sign of weakness.
Yeah. And actually, for me, it's a sign of strength. And when it comes to mental illness, or it doesn't have to be illness either, any kind of mental space that doesn't feel like you got this and you're okay. One of the things is no one can see it. Right? And there's an old saying, squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, when you break a limb, or you get a big gash, people can see that. Yeah. And what happens? People tend to want to help heal that right away. Or you want to make sure that you go get a Band-Aid on your cut or whatever, so that it begins to heal. We don't do that with our minds. We tend to neglect our minds and we'll say, oh, we'll deal with that next time. I'll get over it. We just got to get through this, this too shall pass type energy.
That's a really good point, man.
But it's important that we do nurture our minds the same way we nurture our bodies, don't you think?
Yes, that's a really good point. And as you're thinking about it, I'm always, like I said, I'm always thinking about how does this apply? So even though I'll share stuff, I'm always learning. So I'm learning from you right now, and I'm thinking, okay, how many times there were signs, but we say things like, this too will pass, I'll be okay. Right? And compared to, like you said, if you get like a big cut or injury, you're rushing. You're not even thinking that, oh, let me see if I can patch this up myself. Right? You're putting something on it and you're heading straight to the doctor. Then why are we not doing the same thing when it comes on to our mental health?
And to further that point, the same way you don't want to drop blood on the white rug. Yeah. If you don't tend to your mental wounds, that's gonna have a domino effect on other people as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so that's where you see dysfunction starting to happen, whether it's happening in your homes, at work, in our communities. That is where we're seeing, because you are already, remember I spoke about earlier that when you don't take care of yourself, you start to fade away. Yes. Right? And you slowly move away from, so whatever equilibrium state you were in, once you're in that state, you start to move away. And so the moment you start to move away, everything that is connected to you, it's going to be affected if we don't tend to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, some people also, when it to that point, they say, oh, well, I don't have the resources. Oh, well, I don't have the time. Oh, well, they kind of make excuses, to put it lightly and to put it fairly. But you have to put those things first in order to be whole and productive for everything else around you. Right. Because everything else is going to start breaking. If you're not at your full capacity, everything you interact with or deal with is going to start breaking down and getting less of that as well. Yes. What would you what would you say to people who may have, because it's not always a stigma.
Yeah.
Some people just maybe they don't want to be dramatic. Maybe they're feeling themselves like, I feel like this is a lot, but is it really a lot? Is it enough to raise that flag? Me personally, I'm a little dramatic. I'll raise that flag as soon as I get an opportunity for people to see I need help. And I'll tell you,
send help.
a lot of it is because when I didn't before, I got deeper and deeper and deeper to where I needed more than just one hand to pull me out of the hole I got myself in. I needed a whole team of people to push and pull. You know what I'm saying? So before I get to that extreme, because I have the lived experience, I can recognize some of those patterns and say, okay, this is happening. It's time to reach out and get the help. When is it a point, in your opinion, where you go from being dramatic to necessarily reaching out?
Yeah, so we know ourselves. We know when we're functioning at our best, right? Everything is aligned and we feel great and everything. We also know when something is not right. So we start to feel different, pinches from different things. Maybe you're realizing certain patterns, like maybe it is that, okay, I realize I woke up, for the last 3 days and something is just not right. You can't really put a finger on it, so to speak, but something doesn't feel right within your body. You like who again is within your circle. They'll say, oh, Manny, you don't look like your normal self.
Are you okay?
Are you okay? Something is up, right? The other part of it is that if you have to ask yourself the question, when is the right time? Like, is it the right time? It is the right time.
Right. If you're not sure, then chances are
it is the right time, right?
The time is now.
Right? And we all have bad days. Like, we all have bad days where we get up and we're like, I don't want to deal with today. I just want to stay in bed. I just want to relax. I want to reset. We all have bad days, right? But then what is the pattern behind that? Are we seeing that happening every day? Every day, it's the same pattern over and over. You start to, reject phone calls. You start to, if someone reaches out, I'm okay, when deep down you're not okay.
Right.
Right? You start to isolate yourself. Someone invite you, oh, come, let's get something to drink, and you're thinking, no, I'm okay. But you're not. So we have to be honest with ourselves and get to the place where, like, I am not okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay if I'm not okay. Right. It's what's the next step after I am not okay.
Absolutely. Now, your expertise is in leadership, and it is in uplifting individuals and helping them to realize their potential in leadership. And I'm sure you've gone through this yourself as a leader. Even leaders have trouble sometimes.
Oh, my gosh.
What do you tell people who get to the point where maybe they're overwhelmed, overburdened, and even though as leaders, sometimes we go into positions or jobs that we're expected to have a heavy burden put upon us, and we accept that coming into it. There's still a point of when we should say, hey, I've had enough. I need a hand here. Right. What do you tell your people when you're training them for leadership?
Yeah. So the thing about our being and just ourselves is that we're naturally wired to gravitate towards negative things.
Yeah.
So if we think about if someone gives you and say, oh, you're doing a great job, and look how many people you're impacting in the community, your first response is that, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think some people like to be in what I like to call humble denial.
Yeah.
Right?
And
humble deniability.
And, yourself. It's not being conceited or it's not, pride or anything like that, but yourself. The impact that you're making. If someone gives you that compliment, receive it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're
It's so hard, though.
It's hard.
People tell me all the time, and I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, it's really hard for me to receive a compliment.
It's hard, but I always say that if you don't receive it, who is going to receive it for you?
Right.
Right? Who is going to receive it for you? And so we're naturally wired to focus on like the negative things, and sometimes we seek out the negative things, right? So someone will be saying something, and
is that a case of like proactivity, though?
Well, I wouldn't say proactivity in a negative way, because then you're going out to get the negative feedback, right, or the negative things. And so when I work with like leaders, we try to find out what is that pattern. I talk about the inner critic, right? What is that pattern that is existing in that person's life that is hindering them from moving forward, right? What is holding them back? And so once we're able to dissect that and figure that out, right? Maybe sometimes it's control. It goes back to what you were saying, where they get to the point where they can't manage. But why did we allow it to get to that point where you can't manage?
Right.
Why didn't we, again, proactively reach out to people that can help us rather than wait until like, okay, the whole world is tumbling down on me. Right. I can't do this thing right now, and I'm overwhelmed, and I'm burnt out.
And it's going to take you way more time, resources, and energy to get it together if you would have just done it sooner.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So then being proactive, again, that ties back to our mental health and just how are we being proactive with certain things, right? How are we saying that, okay, then this is what my capacity is. Who are the persons within my circle, within my team, within my community that can help me with whatever project or idea or whatever I'm working on? We have to normalize that getting help is okay.
Yeah.
A lot of times as leaders, when we think that we have to reach out for help, well, what do we think happened? Oh, a weak leader, they don't know anything.
Right.
They should.
And I think that's why people don't want to say anything, because they don't want to be perceived as weak. Exactly. They don't want to be, have their team not be able to rely on them because they're going through something right now. And that's absolutely not the case. Yeah. You can come out of whatever you're going through and still be an effective leader.
Right.
But you can't do anything about it if we're not acknowledging it.
Exactly. And I think that when leaders do that, it shows how resilient they are, and it shows that they're leading from a place of strength. And that's something that I talk a lot about. How is it that you can lead from a place of strength?
Yeah.
Because you are showing up as your authentic self, and you're showing up and say, listen, I don't have it all figured out. I really don't. And I'm not trying to, present that like I have everything figured out and I know everything from point A to point B. And yes, this is going to work. But I'm showing you that this is the reality of the situation, that I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to need help. Sometimes I'm going to be impacted by certain things, but then I'm going to reach out.
Yeah.
That's what we're training and we're teaching people in our community, our staff or family members, that yes, you go through this, but then the next step, let me see who can help me navigate this, rather than box everything in, hold everything in, and then you're literally dying inside.
Right. And also an effective and I would say responsible leader would be one that can take feedback and criticism.
Yes. Yeah.
And not take it as an attack, but take it as whoever are around you are noticing some things with you, and maybe you should reflect on those things. Which isn't hard. It's not easy at all. Like, for me to tell my boss something negative about them is a scary thing.
Oh, yeah.
You were talking about mindfulness earlier. Yeah. Isn't it really important on both ends, whether you're in a leadership position or you're in a position under leadership, to be mindful and also communicative? So you're recognizing signs, and don't be afraid to bring those up.
Yeah.
That would make sense to me, but then how? Because I'm scared.
Yeah.
Because stigma's there too. I don't want to lose my job. So many different things. Yeah.
I mean, it goes to relationship.
Okay.
What is the relationship you have with that person? Right? If I don't have a relationship with someone versus when I have a relationship with someone, the feedback that I get, I'm going to interpret it differently. Right? And so what is the relationship you have with your supervisor, your boss, or anything like that? Is it a space where you guys have an understanding that if I see something, I can come to you and talk about it. If you see something, you can come to me and talk about it. We have that understanding. We know the different language that we'll use with each other, because you hear the saying that it's not what was said, it was how you said it. That sort of thing, right? And so, it's there's a lot of truth to that, right? Yes, the feedback is there, but then what were you shouting? What's your body language? What's your tone?
Right.
And so what is the relationship that you have with that person? Right? That's gonna be the game changer in terms of like being in a space where, okay, you say that I'm able to receive what that person is given to me. If you're not on that same page, you're going to think that, what is this person talking about? This person, they don't know me. Why is this person sharing this thing with me? And then that's when our defenses come up, like those characters in like the superhero movies, like you're ready to fight, right? And that's when it starts to come up. But if you have a relationship, then you will assess it differently. And even if that requires you to take a step back, reflect on it a little bit more, but then you're going to approach it differently if you have a relationship with someone versus if you don't have a relationship with someone.
Right. Yeah. And with that being said, even if you do have a relationship with someone, you need to, again, be mindful and understand that just because you say something doesn't mean something is going to or has to happen. It's very important that we realize our place and our position in someone's life. And the only one who can make changes is the person needing to make the change. That's right. Can you speak a little bit about what it means to recognize, what it means to be ready, and what it means to recognize that someone is or is not ready?
Well, the one of the things I tend to say is that, I work with I work with all types of clients, but if that person is not ready, there's no way I can work with them.
Right.
Because what's going to happen is that it's going to be a push and a pull relationship. And that's not...
There'll be a whole lot of buts.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but this. Yeah, but that. Yeah, but I got this.
Money's going to be a push and a pull.
Yeah.
Right? And as harsh as it is, but it's a waste of my time. It's a waste of their time.
Right.
And so we want to ensure that we're maximizing the time that we have with each other. Right. And so you have to be in that space where you're ready. And that might look differently for people. It might involve you reaching out and say, yes, I'm ready. Or it might involve you taking initiatives on different stuff. Maybe start reading a book and say, yeah, I'm ready. I'm starting to dissect this. Maybe listen to podcasts. Maybe start going somewhere to show initiative that you're ready. But if you are not ready, the information can be presented to you, but it will have no effect on you.
Right.
None. And so it goes to your mindset. What is the state of your mindset in that moment? And sometimes it takes maybe just a revelation for someone, and they're like, oh, yeah, wow, I didn't know this. Maybe they listen to a song, or someone spoke to them, or they see something on the TV, or, they get an email, and that's a revelation or wake up call for them, and be like, yeah, I need to do something about this.
Right. Or you're just tired of being tired. That was what happened to me. Exactly. I was just tired of being tired.
Or tired of being tired, right?
I didn't want to wake up anymore, so I was like, well, if I'm willing to not wake up tomorrow, I should at least be willing to try something different, right? Yeah. Tired of being tired, I wanted to try something different. Yeah.
Exactly. You were tired of being tired. You want to try something different. What do you have to lose, right? And so exactly. So just thinking, for everybody it differs, and the timeline is different as well. Somebody might get happen in a day, maybe a split second, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, right? 5 years. It all depends on just where they're at. But again, it goes back to that mental state. What is going on? Who are the persons around that can support that individual at that time?
Yeah. And then I know this may not be your area of expertise, but it's kind of just the leading path of, we can't make people do anything. If they're not ready, there's nothing I'm going to say to convince them to do what they got to do for their own mental well-being. But what do I do if I see that someone, if I'm worried about them, if I feel like they may be suicidal, or I feel myself like I may be suicidal, um, but yet I'm scared to tell someone. On either end of that coin, it can be a really scary, challenging time.
Right.
What can we do to at least, like walk those very scary waters responsibly?
Right. I mean, again, it goes back to relationship. If I have someone that is very dear to my heart and I see that they're struggling, I've tried to, help them, let's get out, and it's not working, and I'm seeing I'm gonna have to reach out to someone that can help them. I know that I'll probably have to live with the response after that, because maybe they're gonna be mad and they're like, why did you call this person, or why did you do that? But I look at it to say it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, and it's better for you to be mad at me and here than for me to not know how you feel and you're not here at all anymore, and me just wondering and missing you. Because I mean, I don't really mind if people are mad at me as long as I know I'm doing the right thing. You can be mad at me all you want. I still have you.
Yeah,
that's the selfish part of me. Now, speaking of selfish part, it's really difficult, wouldn't you say, to not make other people's problems your own and not to be selfish. And that can be dangerous too, because I could be looking out for you and saying, Dr. Sherri, I know you're not feeling well, and I could see it, and you being upset is making me upset, and I need to push you into this right direction, and I could just go till I'm blue in the face trying to help you help yourself. Right. Doesn't that kind of have an adverse reaction on you too? Like me worrying so much about you can put me into a funk, right? Wouldn't it?
Yeah, and so you have to have a balance, and you as the caregiver, so to speak, in this instance, and caregiver in a loose term is that you have to ensure that your resources and you're strapped, right? You're stepping into the situation as resilient as you can.
Yeah.
Because it can have an adverse effect, right? If you're going there tending, assisting, helping this person, pouring into them day in, day out, it goes back to that instance where you have the water pitcher, right? You have the water, someone comes, hey, Maddie, a hot day like this.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, Maddie, can I have some of the water? You're like, sure. You pour the water out, right? Someone else comes up, hey, Maddie, can I get, before you know it, the water is done because you didn't put anything else in there. Right. And so you're now thirsty. You now want something to drink, but there's no water in the pitcher. And so when we're helping,
you're so used to giving, last thing you're gonna do is ask.
Exactly. Like, can I get some more back of the water?
Right. Can I get some of that water back, please?
But then you, as the person stepping in and trying to help, you have to make sure that you're consistently pouring back into that pitcher.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So that you can help the way that you can, and then having a balance, right? At that point, do you need to bring more persons on board to help you, right? We talk about, we cannot do it on ourselves. There's no way that we can do it by ourselves. And so this is where community comes in.
Right.
What are the different resources within the community that we can pull on, that we can draw and use to help in that situation? We're not alone. We're not isolated. There's a poem, I think it's called John Donne. He writes it, No Man is an Island, right? And when we think about it, and there's a picture online that I look at, and it got me thinking. It was just different persons on different island blocks, and I'm like, imagine if that was our reality. Like everybody just on a different block, they're doing their
we couldn't
thing.
reach each other.
We couldn't reach each other, right? And so thinking of, okay, then I'm not on this island by myself. I'm here with other people. Let me go find them and see who else can help me, right? As I'm living on this island of maybe, doubt or depression or stress or anything like that. Let me see who else can help me with that. And I think that's what's going to really make the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we are by nature, by the grand design, a people or a species, just that we need to be with each other. We need to commingle, cohabitate, and sometimes it doesn't always work out, right? And we shouldn't beat ourselves up over it if it doesn't work out. We should recognize, that sometimes differences are too much. And I bring this up to start bringing in the children and families portion.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel a sense of like helplessness, hopelessness. They're in a situation they can't get out of. A lot of domestic situations happen that way, where people are afraid to see the reality that maybe they shouldn't be living together anymore, but yet they still want to do it because maybe they're embarrassed to tell their family and friends that their relationship isn't going to work. Maybe they're doing it for the children, which is one you hear of all the time. There's so many different reasons. How can families be helped more? My question, I guess, leads to domestic violence, to where negative outcomes aren't the only foreseen outcome, where people can take away the stigma of putting yourself in a safe space for the overall good.
So that's probably another.
That's a loaded question.
Full blown episode. Yeah. Another option. But what I can share is that I had a friend that did a study, and again, we just have to be mindful of the stereotypes that we use and the assumptions that we have of people. Especially when they're in certain situations like that, we might think, oh, they should leave, or why are they staying? And we say all different things. But until you really are in the situation to understand, it's very hard for you to comprehend what's going on. And so I was one of those people that on the side, like, oh, why doesn't she leave? Like, why is she staying and all that stuff. And I remember when my
door's
friend
not locked. You can just go somewhere.
Exactly. And my friend did a study, and she explored just why women stay. She did a study in Jamaica, and it was a qualitative study. She did interviews, and just the stories. Just the stories of, women expressing themselves like, they're the kids and they didn't want to leave the kids, or they don't want to start over. And, this was more security for them, and they don't want to be with someone new. And like,
which in itself can bring on mental.
Right. There were so many things.
Struggles.
And, I looked at it differently. When I read her report, I started to look at it differently and stop judging. Right? Stop judging and thinking like, oh yeah, they should know better. They should just get out of there. But then moving from a place of judgment to support.
Yes.
Right? Moving from a place of judgment to support. I'm not saying that, everybody's therapist and you can help and stuff like that, but really asking that individual, how can I support you now?
Right.
That might mean helping them to go to a visit, a doctor's visit. That might mean going on a walk with them. Even though deep in your heart you're thinking, oh, I wish this person would leave that person.
Right.
But they're not going to make that decision until they get there.
Right.
And as much as we want them to, they have to come to that place. But then in the moment where they're at now, how can you support them?
And sometimes that looks like just letting them know that you're aware
and you're there,
that there's a situation, and I'm here regardless of what capacity you need me. Excuse me.
Yeah.
My allergies, man. Did you not see all that pollen?
Oh yeah, it's a season for it.
Oh my goodness. So, it's like I love May for a lot of things. But, April showers, May flowers, in order to get those we need the pollen to be spread around. So I guess I'll take it. But we are almost out of time. Yeah. Believe it or not, time flies when you're having fun. And
that always happened, Manny.
It's not that this is the funnest subject, but us talking together about
it's needed.
These things are very much needed. And I just want to make sure, that the community gets to hear from people that they're familiar with, because they see us out there all the time, in all these community events, that we too have struggled in our lives, haven't we? Like, I know I look perfect.
That's a whole different show, okay?
I'm a beautiful being. Show. However, I am still a human being, and I've struggled. As recently as yesterday, I've had my struggles. And I've had to reach out to my support system and talk to them and be like, "Yo, I'm about to kill somebody. I'm not homicidal,
Like,
but sometimes
you guys need to come and help me. I need help."
And how important is it that we let people know that we need your help? Like, even for you, how important it is for you to reach out to someone, whether it's your mom or a friend, that you can be like, "Listen, I'm not doing my best today. I just need to know that." You know what I mean? I need that
we
interaction.
have to be honest with ourselves. And
that's the hardest part, isn't it?
We don't like to be honest with ourselves. So again, getting back
because your own worst critic is you.
Exactly. So we don't want to say I'm not doing well or I need help.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something earlier. You said that if we can get the help now, it's going to save us time than going back and fixing stuff that we could have avoided.
Right.
So we have to first
full circle.
Oh my gosh, we have to first get to the place where, yes, I'm not doing well. So these days, sometimes someone will call you and say, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm okay."
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Right.
But you just said you're okay.
Yeah.
So what I've tried to do,
I think I'm okay is one of the biggest indicators that people aren't okay.
Is the okay?
Because when I'm really okay, excuse me, my goodness, when I'm really okay, I'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
Wait till you hear all this great stuff I got going on.
Right.
When I'm not okay, I just want to shut down the conversation as quick as possible.
Yes, and the way to do that is say I'm okay.
Yeah.
So then, if we're honest, someone calling, "How are you doing?" "I'm not doing great. I'm not. I'm really struggling today. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm just in a little funk.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing great today." Then that creates an opportunity. What can I do to help?
What about I could be better? I could do better. Is that patronizing? Can we say that? I could be better.
I mean, we could all be better at something if you really think about it. But then not really focusing on, okay, I could be better type thing, but really giving it a label.
Yeah.
I am not doing great.
Be full blown honest. Just don't. That's it. You don't want to half-ass it. Excuse my language, but that's the only word I could think of.
I'm not doing great.
Gotcha.
I'm struggling today. Give it a label.
Yeah. And it's important that we all talk to each other, and more important than that we all love on each other.
Yes.
Because love is free.
Love on our brain. Love on our
and
brain
love
too.
is so invaluable, isn't it?
Yes.
We can all use a little bit of validation, a little reassurance, a little compassion, and understanding. And I'm sorry, I was trying to think of the word you used.
Mindfulness.
Yes,
one of my favorite words.
We can all use everyone to be mindful of each other and to know we all here on the same ride, just trying to get through it. Trying to make sure that we can do the best we can do with what little bit of time we got here. And I think one of the ways you can do that is by, if you're in a position to help others or to be mindful and to uplift others, do that. If you're not in a position and you need that mindfulness and uplifting, speak up about it. Let people know. And so I don't know if you're in that position, but I know there are some things you want to speak up about because you're a very busy lady. And I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you sleep. You have no bags under your eyes. I think we talked about this last show, but you're absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
You have event after event after workshop after workshop after all kinds of things going on. What are some of the things you really want us to know about right now so we can go get involved before it's too late?
Yes. So October, no more events until October. I'm taking a little break.
Oh, good.
But
a break in Dr. Mclean's world.
So October the 4th is Live to Lead. This is our second year, and our theme is Leader Arise. We have 4 virtual speakers, and then we're gonna have 2 in-person keynote speakers. One of those is Dr. Mitra. He's gonna talk about igniting the leader within you.
He's amazing. He's such a well full of gems.
Yes, like he is. Oh my gosh, so he's gonna be great. It's gonna be at the College of the Holy Cross, and tickets right now are $99 until next week Friday. They will go up to $129. So you want to get your tickets now. And then we have a special event for the youth the following Saturday, which is the 12th of October. It's called Youth Fusion, and it's going to be at the Blackstone Valley Cinema. It's leadership at the movies. And I'm like, I love it. This is absolutely free for youth. So if you know any youth, they can sign up. The capacity is about 129. Once we get there, we're going to close it off. But it's gonna be a great day. We're gonna have a panel. We're gonna have giveaways,
Ooh,
swag bag, all the good stuff.
that's so exciting.
Yes.
I know I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna
Yes.
come and show up and
Yes, please.
probably more because I'm a kid at heart. I'll probably show up to the youth panel, just because that just speaks to me so much more personally. It's just I'm a big kid. What can I say?
We want to have both. How about that?
But yes, I will definitely do everything I can to make sure that I'm at both, because they're very important, and taking care of the community starts with uplifting the community.
That's
you need
right.
to pick us all up one by one and tell each other, yes, you can.
That's
We
right.
can do better
Yep.
than what we think we have. You know, going back to generational trauma and all the things that our ancestors and even like immediate, like yesterday ancestors have done to pave the way for us to get us to where we are. We need to use that blessing and turn it into something proactive rather than focusing on all the negativity, which is very easy to do.
Yeah.
And make sure that we continue to carry that torch forward and bring on the legacy that is the work that came behind us. And I think, there's been so many with just civil rights and women's rights. We're at a point now that we could focus on everybody's mental health rights. And I think mental health should be a right for everyone. Access should be a right for everyone. And understanding should definitely be something that we all get and know that the same way you'd go put a Band-Aid on your finger if you get a cut, you need to go put that Band-Aid on your brain when you're not feeling well.
That's right. Right.
I mean, it might be a little difficult to do, but we can figure out. You know what I'm saying? It's not metaphorically. But with that being said, I want to thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate you. And I know September, is it September or October, John? I can't remember. I think it's September, is Suicide Awareness Month. It's another mental health awareness. I'll do my homework. I should do it before I start announcing stuff on the show. But my point is, I'd love to have you back before your October workshop, so we can remind everybody to make sure that we come and we can talk some more mental health stuff.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Because it all boils down to, in my opinion, what is the root, what is the basis of uplifting people? Is start in the beginning, and we all start off as a little tiny brain.
And then we evolve.
Everything grows out from the brain cell, right? Our arms come in, legs come in. All right, I'm too much now. It's time to go. With that being said, this has been another fantastic episode of Interviews, a very special mental health episode with your very own Dr. Sherri Ann Mclean. Mclean. Dr. Sherri Ann Mclean. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you
you.
for having me, Manny.
I'm Manny.
And I'm Dr. Sherri Mclean.
And this is Interviews. We'll see you real soon. Peace.